Hello everyone and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, The Lost Planeswalker, and today we're doing another Back to the Basics video, and this is my first Back to the Basics in a while, and this is a awesome video that is all about Prowess, a very unique mechanic designed by a player of the game, Jonathan Locks. During the second Great Design Search, R&D needed a new combat-relevant keyword that, unlike flying or unblockable, wasn't just about evasion for blue and subsequent colors. This keyword was first introduced in Khans of Tarkir and Fate Reforged, and was specifically focused around the Jeskai color pie and still is to this day. And if we're being honest, Prowess is not one of those keywords you would see made today because it's a very powerful keyword if used in the right setting. The ability to grow a creature at instant speed, and by casting a non-creature spell, can have huge impacts on the game and can really overwhelm your opponents by all the different shenanigans you can get into. Now, Prowess was somewhat phased out for a while after Hour of Devastation, but it was brought back sparsely in the last few sets, and we can continue to see this grow in the future. But let's see how Prowess works. Prowess is another one of the more simple mechanics that just makes it easy to forget all the triggers once you have a lot going on. But Prowess reads 702.108 Prowess. 702.108A, Prowess is a triggered ability. Prowess means whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. 702.18B, if a creature has multiple instances of Prowess, each trigger separately. It's just that simple and powerful. So let's take a look at some cards that care about Prowess and how you can use this mechanic to your advantage. Really, the only viable commander, in my opinion, for Prowess is the brand new commander from the Epilogue set to March on the Machine, Narset and Lighten Exile. And we do have another commander that kind of cares about Prowess, but kind of in a different way, which is Elush of the Infinite. Narset gives all creatures Prowess, and this counts as a second activation point of Prowess if the creatures in your deck already have it, meaning whenever you cast a non-creature spell, they would get 2 +1/+1s put on them until end of turn, which could be a very, very cool way to build this deck. She also allows you to cast free spells whenever she attacks, and this will also activate Prowess on all of your creatures, meaning that all of your stuff is temporarily buffed when they go to swing in. Elush does allow for the ability to activate Prowess even when you don't have any cards in hand to trigger it by letting you look at the top card of your library. This is an awesome card, but the utility of it is kind of variable on what's in your deck. Because you can only cast non-creature spells, you want to fill up your deck with creatures with Prowess to activate. So the likelihood of you triggering this is, about 50-50, honestly. With lands maybe 2/3 of the time. So you gotta get really lucky. So I think Narset and Lighten Exile is the best Prowess commander there is. Now let's talk about some of those best Prowess cards, because maybe you're not building a deck around Prowess, or you are, but what are some cool cards that you can add to your decks that are kind of staples, honestly, and really, really powerful cards in general? So first off, we have Harmonic Prodigy, Monastery Mentor, and Monastery Swiftspear. So let's talk about Harmonic Prodigy. For 1 and a red, you get a creature with Prowess, and if an ability, a shaman, or another wizard you control triggers, that triggers an additional time. I honestly think that Harmonic Prodigy is seen more in decks that care about wizards or shamans versus decks that care about Prowess, because that double triggering is well worth the cost of just 1 in a red, and the Prowess is just there to help keep it around. So this is a very cool card. But Monastery Mentor is one of my favorite cards because not only does it have Prowess, but whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create a monk creature token with Prowess, meaning you can grow your board this way and create a really devastating board at some point. If you can, cast 2 or 3 spells on a turn, everything gets buffed 2 or 3 times, so that can be a very, very big threat. And Monastery Swiftspear is a staple card for a single red creature with haste and Prowess at a 1/2, meaning that turn 1 you play this, you get to attack. Turn 2 you play this, you play another spell, or 2 possibly, and it deals its damage, and you just continue. It's a very, very easy card to get out early and deal a lot of damage very quickly. So some other notable cards that have Prowess are Jeskai Elder, Storm Chaser Mage, and Dwarven Forge Chanter. Jeskai Elder is a older card, and I think it was just reprinted in Double Masters 2022, which was, I guess, 2 years ago now. But whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. Being able to kind of filter through your deck is a great ability, and being able to grow this on demand kind of keeps your opponents from blocking it. So this is a awesome card. Storm Chaser Mage for a blue and a red is a 1/3 with flying haste and Prowess, which is incredible. I love seeing cards with so many keywords, but that flying and haste is going to let you attack as soon as you play it, and prowess is basically just going to let you deal as much damage as you can pump it up to. And lastly, we have Dwarven Forge Chanter, which ward 2, pay 2 life, and prowess, which I think is pretty cool. I think this is a somewhat relevant card in some decks because that ward 2 kind of keeps players from targeting it, but also the prowess can kind of deal with a lot of threats, especially at a 1-3. So this is awesome. But what are some other cool cards that care about prowess? So these are kind of maybe not as much staples, but are kind of really cool. So first off, we have Nimbus of Frost, Shuyon, the Silent Tempest, and Bedlam Reveler. Nimbus of Frost has flying and prowess, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, tap target creature an opponent controls, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. This can be pretty strong, especially if you have a deck built around casting instants and sorceries. I mean, this effect alone is great, but the prowess is also kind of cool. You're growing a flyer every turn, but also tapping down creatures that can't untap on their next turn, so that's a pretty decent card. But Shuyon of the Silent Tempest has prowess, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay a red-white. If you do, target creature gains double strike until end turn. This is also in contention because it is Jeskai colored. You could use this as a commander, but I really just don't think it's as good. I think this is a much better card in your sideboard because you're not always going to be able to pay that red and a white to give double strike, but when you play this and when you do, you know, it's going to become a threat. And Bedlam Reveler is a devil horror. With this spell, costs 1 less cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard, so potentially just 2 red mana. It has prowess at a 3/4, and whenever this enters the battlefield, you discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. This is a super cool card, especially if you can just cast it for those 2 red mana later in the game. You have nothing in your hand, doesn't matter, you discard nothing and you draw 3 cards. So I think that this is a really cool creature and can come in handy, especially maybe if you're playing a deck that cares about discarding cards or putting cards in your graveyard like Madness. This could be a really cool effect that can help you cast those cards for their reduced cost. So the other cards I want to talk about here are Ashai of Spark and Smoke, Dragon-style Twins, and Thorned Moloch. So Ashai of Spark and Smoke is a legendary creature that I believe is a cover for the Street Fighter Secret Lair that has prowess. For a red or a white, Ashai of Spark and Smoke gains first strike until end of turn, and whenever Ashai deals combat damage, you may cast a sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. This is a super cool way to get out stuff for free, and giving it first strike is definitely a way to prevent your opponents from really wanting to block in fear of their creatures dying. Dragon-style Twins has double strike and prowess, which is just simple, but is very powerful. And Thorned Moloch has prowess, and this has first strike as long as it's attacking. Again, a threat you do not want to block, especially with prowess, not knowing how big it could potentially get. But I wanted to end this video by talking about new cards with prowess, because we did receive a couple in the latest set, Murder at Karlov Manor, at the time of recording, with Ecstatic Electromancer, Goblin Wizardry, and Fugitive Codebreaker. I was very surprised to see that we got even 3 prowess cards, because out of all of Magic entirely, we only have 60 or so cards with prowess, so to get 3 in this one set is kind of amazing. But I think just to keep in mind, 2 of these are cards from the Clue set. I believe these Clue set cards had different keywords that weren't typical in the rest of the set, that they really wanted to make and maybe had designed but didn't really fit in with the regular set. So let's start out by talking about Ecstatic Electromancer. For 1 hybrid blue-red creature goblin wizard with prowess, whenever Ecstatic Electromancer enters a battlefield or attacks, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Kind of a cool way to kind of filter out, maybe get into the spell in your hand. But I think a more exciting card is Goblin Wizardry. For 3 and a red instant, create 2 1/1 red goblin wizard creature tokens with prowess. I think this is a little expensive, but because it creates 2 creatures with prowess, I think this could probably be a pretty cool card in a sealed draft. Definitely kind of surprise your opponents, not expecting, you know, this, and it's just a little overcosted that people might pass it up so you can get a couple of these in your hand. And then lastly, we have Fugitive Codebreaker, which I think is pretty good cost-wise. 1 in a red, prowess haste. Whenever it is turned face up, you discard your hand, then draw 3 cards, and it's a 2/1, so it's kind of okay. But Disguise for 5 in a red is pretty expensive. But the fact that it's reduced by 1 for each instant and sorcery means that you can flip this or play it for its disguise cost for only 1. So I think it does well cover the cost if you definitely have a lot of instant sorceries in your graveyard. Prowess is one of the most unique evergreen keywords that can become a very, very powerful addition to any deck. And these cards you should keep an eye out for in upcoming sets, because like I just said, we got 3 in this set. So this might be a very, very cool idea as a new deck strategy or just design in general. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learned a thing or two about Prowess and how you can use this to win your next match. If you liked, please leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this. Have you ever built a deck around Prowess, or is there a card that you just love to include in decks because it has Prowess? I would love to know that, so please leave it in the description down below. And now we have today's Scryfall card of the day, which is Divination. The key to unlocking this puzzle is within you. Durrell, Mentor of Mistral Isle. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.